The Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Nsiah, says government is committed to implementing the 43-year-old abandoned project at the Kumfanoche Teaching Hospital, which doctors there say could significantly help tackle the congestion problem, which is leading to needless deaths. Inadequate space at the existing mother and child unit at the hospital has meant the newborns share incubators and, along with it, infections, which almost always kills them at an average of 4 each day. Representing the Health Minister on a national conversation following the premiere of Joy News' special assignment documentary dubbed Next to Die, Dr. Nsiah said though previous governments have made budgetary allocations towards the completion of the building, the funds have been inadequate. He however adds no money has been allocated since 2009.
The hospital we earmark funds every year for the budgetary allocation. You see, I cannot complete my statement by not saying that since 2009, no money has been allocated. That's why I'm saying that, you see, Ghana government has a lot of things to do. So if you want to finish a project, which is not loans, then you have to, as a government or as anybody in authority, to put budgetary allocations for it, and then hoping that within the next 2-3 years it will finish. We are all not, you see, the reason why I'm saying is that you see, it was a commitment which was made by President Kufuor, and I was part of our policy statement and policy documents in health. This building, we are committed to finish it within this term of this NPP government. And maybe people don't know, only last week, exactly a week ago, a group of people came here. Now we know that we should have extra budgetary allocation, what we call earmark funds, which maybe you have to take a loan or we do something. We send people came here. People are now knocking at our doors that they want to come and finish this. You see, if you want any loans or anything to finish this building, because the building is already about 60% complete, it becomes difficult because anybody who is coming to bring money wants to bring his own contractor. But this is a group, about 2 sets of people who have come, and they have come to have a look only last Tuesday. I'm not too sure if they passed through the administration. But I'm aware because I'm in Accra and I know what is going on. So what I want to
take it that, Kojo, just before you come in, do I take it that there was a break from 2009 until very recent because there was a change in administration? I know you don't want to go there, but can I just stay there for a while?
To be honest, I think it's actually a pity, Mama B, that we are making that the problem? Issue.
Yeah, let me tell you something. In 2009, there was supposed to be a 10 million from National Health Insurance Authority.
$10 million?
10 million Ghana cedis to continue with this building. I was here till September, August when I left.
2009, same year.
2009, same
okay.
year. I don't believe the money came. And then later on in 2013 or so, there was part of the oil money, which we call ABFA money, which was supposed also to have been used to also continue, maybe complete this building. I don't think it came. So as I sit here, I can tell you that I have not seen any serious work on this building since the change of government in 2000. That's why I'm telling you that, you say we shouldn't go there, but I'm telling you that we are so committed, because I'm part of it, the system. We are so committed as a Ministry of Health to complete this building. I'm just from budget here, a budget meeting only on last Saturday. We are going to put in money to complete this building, because let me tell you something. If you have this building from 1974 when the sword was cut, up to today, and we are not using the building to save lives, as the man and the woman came here to say, that because of congestion, there's infection, there's cross-infection, all these things, then there's no return on investment, period.
Now, 2 parents who joined the national discussion which followed the rebroadcast of the documentary Next to Die Tuesday morning had some harrowing experiences to share.
I had a surgery on Wednesday. Thursday evening, the doctor summoned me and said he had something to discuss with me. Normally, when I get pregnant, I get the gestational diabetes. So I thought that the baby had also gotten it. But the doctor said, no, the baby got bent. I said, why? What happened? Because I heard you tell the nurse not to give the baby a bath. I said, well, I don't know. The nurse gave the baby a bath, and now the baby got bent. So I had not seen my baby since Wednesday. So Friday, meanwhile, I had gone through cesarean section. So Friday, I had to make my way to the MBU. So you could imagine with all the stitches and everything on. So at dawn, I got up and came to the MBU. It was tears all over. I couldn't just open my eyes. I sat, when I got in, I asked the doctor, Dr. Planche, and she told me they had taken the baby to the Benz unit for dressing. So I waited. In about 30 minutes, I saw them pushing an incubator, and they showed me my baby. And the baby had been bandaged from neck to the waist, all arms bandaged, and had Vaseline all around over the head and the ear. So they took the baby in.
And this is how old? The baby at what age?
The very first day. This happened the very first day I gave it. So it was like the second day after birth. Yeah. So I had to breastfeed the baby. I took the baby out and had to breastfeed him. Like I said, the place was just too much. Getting even a chair to sit on to breastfeed because mothers are there breastfeeding. But because of my condition and because the thing happened in the hands of a doctor who works at Confanoche, maybe I don't know whether that was the reason they were, I don't know what to say. Because like I was giving some preferential treatment because the thing happened in the hands of a doctor who works here.
About 100 babies in a room. How can the same nurses treat the babies simultaneously? I mean, that is impossible. So a drug was prescribed for me. I want to buy every day. For drugs, it's normal for you to buy for the baby, for them to use it to treat the baby. And I think a week or so, I was discharged again. So when we came home, there was the need for us to come to review. A date was given. So that very day, the day before the review, I realized that the temperature of the baby was very high. So the next day we took the baby to the hospital and we were admitted again. For the second one I was there, I watched my baby die. Besides, the mother, because of the stress, the experience that the mother has had there at the MBU, she also had an infection as well. I think that was the third day. So when I came the following day in the morning, I couldn't see her very well. She looked pale. I mean, the demeanor was not the best. So she was admitted. So you can see the mother is being admitted, the baby as well being admitted. So they wrote a medicine for me to buy for the baby and at the same time, the wife. So I came down to buy the medicine. To be frank, Kwaju,
and we sincerely apologize you're having to relive this rather sad experience.
In the meantime, as government puts itself together financially to complete the abandoned block, the medical director of the Confanoche Teaching Hospital says the hospital has made interim arrangements to deal with the congestion. Dr. Bafo spoke with Erastus Asaridonko after the screening of Next to Die, which highlights the situation at the hospital.
You've been trained to render quality service, but when you are ready, there's no space for you. You have these children and mother crowded together, and at times you don't know which one to pick. Like you heard in the documentary, Obu, then you leave this one, by the time you come, this one too is in crisis. So that has been the situation.
Knowing very well the medical practice, the ethics, and what is right to be done and all that, how does that make you feel as a medical director?
It's frustrating, but the thing is something can be done. We can make a change. We can change the situation if we work together as a team. Like now, if you ask me what we should do now, we have Suntresu, we have Tafo, we have Manshia, we have Kumasi South. Assuming we all come together that, look, let's resolve these four sites. Let's say Tafo has 10, incubators. Suntreso 10 incubators. Menshia 10 incubators. Bekwai, add all these, they will take some of the load off Komfo-Anokye. And we as Komfo-Anokye, we have started sending our doctors out to render service at the peripheral areas. So if you combine all these, you realize now people will now gain confidence that wherever I am, the specialists are there to render service.
Well, we're going to keep the pressure up and hope that government indeed would abide by the commitment to complete the project. Moving on to other news, the Ghana National Fire Service says it will be engaging fuel tanker owners and drivers as part of sensitization programs aimed at preventing fire outbreaks. The exercise, which will be carried out with the police, is to ensure the drivers and owners adhere strictly to safety measures. It follows a number of fire outbreaks across the country involving fuel tankers.
A dozen of tankers were destroyed in a fire outbreak at the tanker yard at Ashaiman about 2 weeks ago. At a news conference in Accra Tuesday, the Chief Fire Officer, Dr. Albert Brown Gacy, said it has become necessary to engage tanker drivers and owners since they are key stakeholders. Although the news conference was to make public details of the Ashaiman tanker yard fire, Dr. Brown Gacy did not give details. According to him, the report on the tanker yard fire has been submitted to the Interior Ministry. The tanker drivers and owners are expected to cooperate to ensure that the fire outbreaks are avoided.
I believe very well that all of us, the oil marketing companies, the petrol tankers, petrol and diesel tankers association, those who operate gases, must all help to minimize the occurrence of these fire outbreaks. Because most often than not, the consequential effect is not only the burning of the tanker, but at the same time too, innocent people are affected. Since one cannot underestimate the spread of these fires, I have directed my regional commanders that they should inspect where they keep these tanker operations, where they operate. They should also look at areas where these hazards are, and if they need to close them down, they should close them down.
Meanwhile, Ghana National Fire Service has introduced new fire certificates due to changes made in their LI 1724 as part of their fire safety. Dr. Brown Gacy says one will be issued a fire certificate based on the work the individual does.
Now we have a high-risk certificate. That will be a certificate for only high-risk installations in areas. We have medium risk with a color code, which will also be issued for areas that are of medium risk. And we have the low risk. So most of our fires now in this country would be classified on the basis of risk. That is A, B, C. Now, hitherto, we had only this, which was one certificate covering all. And we have had situations where some individuals have replicated and duplicated this particular certificate.
Ghana National Fire Service says in the event of damage caused by a fire certificate will be required by an insurance company before paying claims. Kwame Yanka reports for Joy News.
You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break on the bulletin. We'll be back with more. Please stay tuned. The National Labour Commission says it is probing cases of unfair termination of the employment of some staff of the Millionaires Casino of the Golden Tulip Hotel in Accra. The Commission has said March 29 to meet all parties involved to discuss the issue. Joy News has gathered there have been several cases of alleged wrongful termination of employment as well as maltreatment of staff at the casino. One of the affected staff tells Joy News more than 60 employees have been fired between July 2016 and January 2017. Emmanuel McMenson, a former security officer at the casino, believes his employment was unfairly terminated.
As the policy says, that when you are not coming to work or you'll be late for work, you should be able to call the management to inform them that, oh, I'll be coming to work, I'll be late, or I will not be able to come. So exactly so I did. And when I reported the following day, Monday, which is 27th March 2017, she handed over to me a letter of interdiction and then a querying letter, which she asked me to come back on 7th March 2017 for hearing. So I went back, and after finishing, the following day she called me to come. When I went there, she handed over to me my termination of appointment letter. So I believe that this attitude of the management was fair, and that our termination of appointment was unlawful. So I believe strongly that if this manager should be kept at the post to be working continuously at a certain level, all the staffs or Ghanaian staffs will be sacked from the workplace. So this opportunity, I'm disappointed to report to the Minister of Employment and Social Relations, and the Greater Accra Regional Minister, and all the institutions that are responsible for labor issues to come in and put this matter to rest.
But speaking to Joy News, the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Charles Adongo Bawadua, said his outfit is still investigating and gathering evidence on the matter.
Normally, the details of the claims of the parties is normally done during the hearing. At this point, the parties are making claims. They will have to appear before the commission, adduce the evidence, the basis upon which they have concluded that a termination is wrongful, unfair, or unlawful, or otherwise. But at this point, we can only rely on the documentation that they have submitted. Both parties are saying either way, that one is saying it's unlawful, other is saying it's lawful. So the commission will have to take evidence, gather all the information available, and make a determination in accordance with the provisions of the law and the practice of industrial relations in this country. In the case of the earlier commission complaint, the earlier complaint that was brought before the commission on the 7th, we have set a date for hearing on the 29th of March. But those complaints which came yesterday before the commission, they will have to go through the procedure of being forwarded to the respondent, who have 14 days to respond to before we can invite the parties for a hearing. That's how the proceedings are going to go.
Well, management of the Millionaires Casino has declined to comment on the issue as the legal case is pending. The National Labour Commission, meanwhile, also says it has no records of the Moako assault case where a restaurant supervisor shoved the face of an employee into blended pepper. The suspect is currently in police custody and scheduled to appear before court again on Wednesday. But the Executive Secretary, Charles Bawadua, tells Joy News neither of the parties involved in this incident has petitioned the Commission.
The National Labour Commission have no records on the Moako case because it has not been reported to the Commission by any party. The National Labour Commission is a collegial judicial body. It is an adjudicatory body which mandate is to settle or adjudicate, decide on industrial disputes or labor issues which has come before the Commission. So our mandate is very specific to decide disputes. And in as much as a dispute has not been filed before the Commission cannot be determining a dispute that it has not received.
A senior research fellow at the Institute of Economic Affairs, Dr. Michael Ofori-Mensah, has described as a mess the current handling of executive assets during transition periods and has called on the country's legislature to put sensible measures in place to fix the mess. Dr. Ofori made that call during a post-mortem of the 2017 presidential transition, which was characterized by car seizures and forceful evictions and takeover of state installations. The senior research fellow also called for an end to the sale of state assets to government appointees. Now, Senior Minister Osafo Mafo, on the other hand, has blamed the NDC administration for the confusion that characterized the 2017 transition. The senior minister lamented challenges confronted by President Akufo-Addo's administration largely has to do with the last-minute contract signed and appointments made by then-President Mahama within the last 14 days of his tenure, particularly the appointment of the Auditor General. The late-night executive decisions by the President, according to the senior minister, is a complete waste of everybody's time, and the country risks payment of judgment debts if the contracts are not reviewed properly. Mr. Osafumafo, however, added the Transition Act needs serious amendment to help prevent future occurrence.
You need the transitional team report to prepare the budget, because you need to make sure that certain things synchronize with what you are going to talk about in the budget, so everything is consistent. So we've done that one. I think that this Transitional Act needs some serious amendments in it, and I think if you want it to be useful, then we should all apply our minds to it. First of all, during the transition period, the Americans have a term, the lame duck president. That term is not there for nothing. You are elected, you are an outgoing president, but your functions are literally taken away from you in respect of many important issues. We are waiting for a new coming administration, and you don't do anything that is significant. The day-to-day running of the country can go ahead, but you don't do anything that is pronouncedly significant. And I think we have to be very clear in the law about what can be done and what cannot be done. The office of the Administrator General must be taken as one of the Article 70 office holders, and it must be resourced and must play the role of the one in charge of the continuous assets of this country. To me, that office should be so active that any procurement that takes place, he should be copied to. If we build our assets base safe today and we have X, then future procurement, that office should be notified, so that when you are updating the future assets, it will not going to be very difficult. It must be compulsory for any procurement that takes place within the government sector to copy to that office.
Considering the role of the Administrator General during the transition period, the senior minister advocated the office be elevated to the level of Article 71 office holders in order to make it efficient. You're watching Joy News Prime. We're taking a break. We'll be back with business news. Welcome back to Joy News Prime. The case involving 7 members of a separatist group calling for restoration of Western Togoland from Ghana has been adjourned by the High Court to April 11, 2017. 3 of the 7 members of the Homeland Study Group Foundation who were charged with treason felony appeared Tuesday before the court, presided over by His Lordship Justice Charles Agbevo. There are, however, 4 of the accused still at large. There is more in this report by Fred Kwame Asare.
Martin Asema Agbenu, 57, Divine Odonko, 65, and Charles Komi Kujoji, 78, leaders of the Homeland Study Group Foundation, were arrested by the Volta Regional Police Command for attempting to declare Western Togoland independent and slapped with treason felony. The police also indicated that the T-shirt worn by the members of the group with inscription 9th May 2017 is our day, Western Togoland, on Independence Day also amount to treason. The 3 accused persons were granted a 50,000 Ghana cedi bail with 2 sureties each when they first appeared before the court presided over by His Lordship Justice Charles Agbevo. In a packed court mostly filled with members of the separatist group, the prosecution team led by State Attorney Moses Asampua pleaded the court to give his team more time to gather enough evidence before trial commenced. He stood by the charges of treason felony, insisting the intentions of the accused persons and their group to declare the Western Togoland independent from Ghana and the wearing of the Western Togoland black T-shirt constitute treason. State Attorney Moses Asampua also pleaded to the presiding judge to ban the wearing of the Western Togoland black T-shirt, which was strongly objected to by the lead counsel for the accused, Achu Agbakwi, explaining it would be undemocratic under the Constitution to ban the wearing of a T-shirt. Achu Agbakwi therefore appealed to the court to dismiss the case since the prosecution has failed to accumulate enough evidence to prosecute his client. The presiding judge, His Lordship Charles Agbevo, said, though the said Western Togoland black T-shirt is related to the case, he can't ban members of the Homeland Study Group Foundation from wearing it. He, however, cautioned members of the separatist group to be cautious of activities they engage in when wearing the branded T-shirt to avert tension between the two factions. Meanwhile, Charles Kwame Kojoji has asked members of the group to adhere to the judge's advice and not engage in illegal activities while they remain committed to the objectives of the group. He also indicated that the group is fighting for the restoration of the Western Togoland and not the secession of a part of the Volta region as reported by sections of the media.
Take the judgment, or not judgment, take the court's decision so far taken seriously and take it in good faith. If you are right, you are right. If you are not right, you are not right. We know we will be right. Amen. We know the history of our people. Our fathers told us, no father will go to educate a child in any other place of this land except to his own children. What we are told is what we are pursuing. And so we think the courts will take a good decision. Do not go into quarrel with anybody.
Deputy Northern Regional Minister Solomon Boa says he will apply alternative dispute resolution mechanisms to deal with numerous conflicts across the region. He believes that it is a better path to ensuring peace. He said this when he appeared before Parliament's Appointment Committee today.
This is something that is very key for all of us, especially the future of Ghana is in the hands of the youth. So if at a point in time you see that the youth are going untoward, it's very prudent that we arrest the situation so that all of us can move the region and Ghana to the next level. I was in Tamale a week ago. I went to SADA office to learn at first hand how far they have gone. I was in the office of one of the technical officers, and before I came out, I'd heard some unusual noise. But the scene, that was after the fact that I asked, and they said some people came around asking for a particular individual. I said, who were those? And they said, oh, sir, the people have left already. So I went immediately to inform the Honorable Minister that this was what I gathered at SADA office, but everything is under control. And just that very day, he was able to go around and make sure that the facts on the ground with regards to how we can sanitize the environment for all of us to, at least, especially for investors, it's very, very key. So he's been able to arrest the situation, and I can assure you that as we sit today, Tamale is very peaceful. We want to continue to see Tamale very peaceful so that together we can contribute our quota to the development of the region. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The Deputy Minister Designate explained further what he meant by the Peace Fund initiative in the region.
Basically, this was about 3 years ago. I had the opportunity to meet a cross-section of the chiefs in my constituency. After visiting them, the Pentecost Church organized a dinner for chiefs, and normally they use that opportunity to really sensitize them on the need to ensure that the place is very stable for everybody to go about doing his or her work. So I assured them that it was very important for us to set up a fund, because normally the chiefs will want a situation where they can gather all their subjects and sensitize them on the need to maintain peace at all times. But they are always constrained in terms of finance. And it was on this basis that I thought it prudent that we have to think of setting up a peace fund to be able to support the religious and traditional rulers anytime at all they want to embark on such sensitization.
When she appeared before the Appointment Committee, the Deputy Ashanti Regional Minister Designate Elizabeth Ajimang says she will work to ensure Kumasi regains its name as the garden city of Ghana.
Reforestation is what comes to my mind in the first place. Kumasi, as people used to call it, was called the garden city of Ashanti region. the garden city of West Africa. Then from when you are going to Kumasi, from the St. Louis Secondary School right down to Edum, there were trees along the roads, both sides. Then the trees were suddenly cut off. I have never liked it. It hurt me because, you see, I'm old enough to see how Kumasi was before. And now Kumasi is not like before. So we are going to, I have already discussed this with my minister. But my minister comes from the lakeside, and he is proud of the lake, the only lake, I think, in West Africa, I think. The natural lake in West Africa is also in the Ashanti region. He is proud of it, and he's told me that he's going to work hard on that to plant more trees. You know that if there are more trees, there's the shade, and therefore the beauty of the place will come back. And we are going to do the same along the streets in Kumasi. So reforestation.
We're taking a break, after which we'll bring you international news. The director of the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana, TAFO, says it shouldn't be difficult for government to implement its one district, one factory policy. Dr. Frank Amwa explains the institute alone has identified over 16 items that could be made from byproducts of cocoa, which is widely grown in Ghana, and that the byproducts could feed several of the proposed factories. The products, he says, include wine, pomade, and soaps, all made from cocoa byproducts.
Dr. Frank Amwa indicated that even though CRIG is a research-based organization, they are now combining manufacturing in order to benefit from the numerous research findings on their shelves. He hinted that they currently do not have the capacity to expand and employ more people, hence government and private investors should come in to support them to create jobs and produce more for the ever-increasing market. He added the government's one district, one factory policy can tap into their researchers for mass production and job creation. Dr. Frank Amwa made the disclosure when the Member of Parliament for Ebuakwa North constituency, Gifty Chum Ampofo, toured the Cocoa Research Institute of Ghana in Tafo to acquaint herself with the activities. He spoke with Maxwell Kudeko.
As you rightly said, our core mandate is to help increase the cocoa production. That is the core mandate. But we're also researching into byproduct development. The cocoa pod, just about 33-34% constitute the beans. The remaining 67% is the husk and the pulp that comes out of it. And we are trying to research into them to put them into good use. And now we have an array of products, about 9 or 10, developed from products or byproducts that we have gone to waste from the husk and the pulp and the juice of the cocoa. We have cocoa wine, we have cocoa brandy, cocoa gin, cocoa biscuits, cocoa soap, cocoa jam, and many more.
The MP was overwhelmed by the development and research findings at the CRIG. He promised to liaise with the Trade, Foreign Affairs, Tourism and Culture ministries to facilitate commercial production and marketing of the wide range of research findings and products at the CRIG.
I was highly impressed. But the challenge they said they were having is they are understaffed. And they wish that authorities of the nation, that is President Nana Addo Kufuor, together with the Trade Minister and Science and Technology Minister, they'll come together. And then not forgetting the Tourism Minister. They'll come together and give them the hand to employ more hands to expand the new product. If possible, relocate them into a whole new area altogether to enable them to employ more hands. So for a Ebuakwa North constituency in the East, for one district, one factory, we have ours already.
For Joy News, this is Maxwell Kudako's report.
The previous NDC government acted illegally when it spent 51 billion cedis during the 2016 fiscal year. That's according to the majority in Parliament. They say the House approved for government to spend only 43 billion cedis. Parliament on Tuesday continued its debate on the 2017 budget statement. Second Deputy Speaker Alban Bagbin, who presided over Tuesday's proceedings, says the practice undermines the authority of Parliament and must be stopped.
Honourable members, the issue that the Honourable Member for Ayawaso West Bogon is raising is that over the years we have allowed governments to overspend beyond what we approve in the Appropriation Act. That the issue is drawing our attention to. And so we will need to look at it as a house. Because if at any time any government needs more money to spend, it's proper for the government to come back to the House for us. But Ato is saying that is not the case. And he talks about environment. And we don't have time to go into these technical terms, because there must be a power that is given to a minister or authority to via, and whether what happened could constitute environment or something else. And so we need to look at this as a house. If not, they are eroding the authority of the House. And it is not only with respect to the last government, it's occurred in almost all the governments since the inception of the Fourth Republic. And that is why we are only having deficit finance.